It was a very big surprise that Virginia Giuffre, formerly Roberts, who had earlier been struck by a bus, I think, and was in very serious physical harm, damage, clawed her way back from what looked like her deathbed, made a tweet saying she would never commit suicide, and then promptly committed suicide. If you believe that Virginia committed suicide, I have a bridge here in London I could sell you going cheap, cheap, cheap. It was almost as surprising as the suicide of Epstein himself, who broke his own neck with paper sheets, where all the cameras in the Death Watch, Suicide Watch cell had all stopped working at the same time. And the guards that were supposed to check on him every 15 minutes both fell asleep at the same time. Again, if you believe that, I've got a COVID-19 vaccine I could sell you. The number of deaths by their own hand or in mysterious circumstances surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein affair is enough to make your head spin. And my wife tells me to insert here, I will never commit suicide. The Lord hath set his cannon against self-slaughter, and I don't like woods either. You will never find me dead by suicide. Now, Virginia said the same, but they did find her dead by suicide. Exactly what is happening on the Jeffrey Epstein front is difficult to discern. We were told with a fanfare by the Trump administration almost as soon as they came back to office that the client list of Jeffrey Epstein would be published in full. Then we were told it could not be published in full and that they were in the middle of national security redactions. Although the fact that there needs to be national security redactions is a pretty good harbinger that there's a national security story right at the center of the Epstein affair. It just might not be the national security of the United States. But even the redactions are taking week after week, month after month, and still there is no client list. So let me recap. Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father also committed suicide off the back of a boat called the Lady Ghislaine, after Ghislaine Maxwell, and who was then promptly buried with full military honors in the presence of all the great personages of the Israeli state on the Mount of Olives. Took up rather a lot of it. He was a big chap. Now, we've got Ghislaine Maxwell doing a long stretch in the federal penitentiary. We've got Jeffrey Epstein in the grave. We've now got Virginia Giuffre in the grave. But if Epstein and Maxwell were trafficking underage girls to a client list, why has nobody on that client list yet been charged with receiving the goods, as it were? Succulent, cherubic children foully trafficked by two of the worst people in the United States of America. You can't have victims if nobody is named as having been the perpetrator of the crime, but nobody is named. The list is not published. And I've got a funny idea that it never will be. Some people say that's because Donald Trump himself is implicated in the Epstein affair. I don't know if that is true or not, though both of them were around New York. Both of them were party kind of guys, though I think that Donald's taste in women ran considerably older than the kids being trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not accusing Trump of being involved in the Epstein affair, but a lot of people do. And it's in his own interest that we know who the actual perpetrators were. Alan Dershowitz has been accused. the boss of Victoria's Secrets, has been accused. Ehud Barak, the several times defense minister, foreign minister, and prime minister of the state of Israel, was a frequent visitor to all of Jeffrey Epstein's properties. It doesn't take a genius to work out that this was a national security sting. It was the luring of influential, powerful people, politicians and others, into compromising situations with young girls, the videos of which none of the powerful would wish to see the light of day in the general public or even with their own wives. And then the rest is obvious. If you don't want this video to be published on the internet, we'll require your absolute loyalty to the cause. Whose cause? Well, take your pick. It could have been the United States intelligence. It could have been the Israeli intelligence. It could have been both of these two intelligence services, insofar as they are, in any case, separate entities. But we wanted to mark the sad suicide of Virginia Giuffre on this evening. And we're ready to take calls and your informed speculation about what really happened. I'm not accusing Donald Trump of involvement in the Epstein Affair, but I am accusing him of bowling into the Pope's funeral, the funeral of the head of state, a state which set a dress code, which said that men needed to wear dark suits and dark ties, looking like he was Tony Soprano out for an afternoon in New Jersey. It was an electric blue suit with an electric blue tie. His wife was impeccably tailored and conducted herself impeccably at the funeral, but Donald Trump did not. He slept next to his wife. Some say that's not something that happens every night, but he fell asleep at the service on his wife's shoulder. He was using his phone frequently throughout this solemn funeral mass. Given that he must have known that every camera in the whole world would be on him in the front row, his behavior was absolutely scandalous. Some people say I'm being overly conservative. That's something I'm often accused of, and it's true. I am a bit of a stickler for people dressing appropriately to the occasion. And when someone gives me a dress code, I abide by it. If I can't abide by it, I don't go to the event. And if the Holy See told me to wear a dark suit and a dark tie at the Pope's funeral, I would have done it. But it's not my inherent conservatism that is on display here. It's this. This act of brazen vulgarity on the part of Donald Trump is him. It is Donald Trump. It's the kind of brazen vulgarity that allows you to threaten your closest, most obedient allies with stealing their territory, if necessary, by force, like he did to Canada, like he did to Denmark. It's the kind of brazen vulgarity that tells foreign governments that they must come to Washington, and I'm quoting him, to kiss his ass if they want tariff relief. It's the kind of vulgarity that routinely threatens with extreme violence and death those that he has chosen as his adversaries: China, Iran, and at the weekend, Russia, the country we're told whose agent he is. Maybe they are messing with my mind, he said. Maybe they're not interested in peace at all, he said. I tell you, you have to be up early to keep abreast of the last announcement of Donald J. Trump. And it's his contempt for treaties, for laws, for other people, for other governments, and even for the Pope himself lying in his coffin, that made me criticize Donald Trump's rather tonic mohair outfit. If you don't know what a tonic mohair is, think a blue suit shining in the sunshine with a kind of sheen. That's how Donald Trump attended the funeral of His Excellency, His Eminence, Pope Francis. May God have mercy upon him. Now, that's of course as nothing compared to the very great events that are occurring around the world. Let's start with the one that might be the most portentous, although it has rather dropped off the news agenda over the last day or two, which might account for the fact only 16,000 people have voted in our poll. Will there be war between India and Pakistan? Yes or no? I may say that at this moment, the vast majority of people, at least 2/3, believe the answer is no. And they may very well be right. But I cannot let pass this opportunity. I have less than zero relations with either government. I am antithetical to the current government and to the chiefs of the military brass in the Republic of Pakistan, although I've spent a lifetime close to that country. I hold the 2 highest civil awards. So when I say this to you, you can be sure I'm not saying it out of any kind of duty or service to Pakistan. The idea that the Pakistani state traveled 400 miles from Pakistan on the ground, on foot, into a disputed province of India, which is the most heavily militarized territory on the earth, with 7 Indian soldiers for every single resident of Jammu and Kashmir. The idea that the Pakistani state traveled 400 miles through these fortifications and carried out murder most foul on 26 tourists, mainly Hindus, it turns out, but also Christians and Muslims, is a bright, shining lie. The question is, in whose interest was this lie carried out? It's a false flag operation. Of that, I have absolutely no doubt. I've no idea at this stage whose false flag it is. Although I do mention that fresh from being the last man to shake the hand of the Pope before he died, unexpectedly, shockingly, J.D. Vance was also in India when this atrocity happened. It didn't put him off his tourist trip. He was posing with his Indian origin family in front of the Taj Mahal whilst the Indian state was mobilizing for war and committing acts of war, like breaking away from the Indus Treaty, which governs the flow of water from the mighty Indus River and on which 80% of Pakistan's water needs are satisfied. I don't know if it was an American false flag, though it definitely suits the United States of America, which not that long ago overthrew the legitimate Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, overthrew his government and replaced them with the stooge regime that remains in power since. Imran Khan continues to rot behind prison bars in the heat of the Pakistan summer. Who knows if the 70-year-old legitimate Prime Minister of Pakistan will survive. It might have been an Indian false flag. It might have been an Israeli false flag. No sooner had it happened than Israeli military aircraft were touching down at New Delhi airport. And Israel is one of India's very closest allies. But I don't know for sure. I just know it wasn't Pakistan what done it. But the fact that it could have happened at all is because the festering, suppurating scandal of Indian occupation of Jammu and Kashmir has been left by the world to rot these last 70 years and more. In the 1950s, the Security Council of the United Nations declared that there must be a plebiscite so that the people of Jammu and Kashmir could choose whether they wanted to be with India or with Pakistan. They agreed that resolution unanimously. India accepted it. Mr. Nehru said he would implement it. But it has never been implemented. The people of Kashmir are held in bondage and have no opportunity but to resist in precisely the way that the Palestinian people were left with no choice either. And the reign of terror in Kashmir has remarkable similarities to the reign of terror in occupied Palestine. In Gaza this week, a little girl was cut in half. Now, this is not hyperbole. Unfortunately, I've seen the video. I've seen the video of the little girl cut in half, and of her brother, who was equally, as she, blown out of her house onto the roof of the house next door, where she lay in half and he lay crying and bleeding. The children's father was also murdered by the same bomb. 4 of the siblings were all murdered by the same bomb, and only the mother and the little boy remain alive. The little boy may in time forget the sight of his sister cut in half. Their mother definitely will not. Famine is stalking the rubble, the alleyways of Gaza. No food, water, power, medicine, or any humanitarian aid has been allowed by Israel to enter the Gaza Strip for almost 2 months. This is not an alleged war crime. They boast about it. This is an actual war crime that I'm telling you about now, that if you're on social media, you already know, but if you're not on social media, it is a war crime that is being systematically withheld from you by the state broadcasters and the sniveling commercial broadcasters that serve the interest of the empire, are deliberately concealing from you that this week alone, more than 50 people died of famine, of starvation, and of thirst. And that 50 will soon be in the hundreds. If the bombs don't get you, the hunger, the thirst, and the total lack of medical supplies and anywhere to receive them will get you, surely. And it isn't as if they're keeping it a secret as to why they are doing it. Netanyahu's ministers boast that they intend to ethnocide the Gaza Strip as a prelude to doing the same in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. I've gone on too long, and we've got a very special guest coming up next. It's Garland Nixon. Stay tuned. It's the mother of all talk shows.